Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the HDC Chat Speaking Series. For the first time, we have something really, really exciting. We are hosting not only one speaker, but two distinguished global thought leaders at once. This is so exciting, and I am beyond happy and excited. Both are from Morocco. Both are nephrologists. Both leading voices in digital transformation of healthcare and the ethical application of AI across Africa and beyond. Today is joining me Professor Amr and Professor Haddiya. What a pleasure to have you today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Rashida.
Oh, pleasure. Before starting today, I'm going to read a very, very short bio, not doing justice to both of you, but it will be a few things to share with the audience. I will start with no particular order, but I'm going to start with Professor Haddiya. She's a nephrologist, professor of higher education in medicine. She holds a PhD in social responsibility in healthcare and has a specialization in AI in health from Stanford University. She's also the president of the Association for Supporting Kidney Patients in the Eastern Region in Morocco. She was named the Doctor of the Year in 2021 and Literary Personality of the Year in 2022. And this is just among few of the awards that she received. I'm going to move on quickly to Dr. Amr. He is also a Moroccan nephrologist, professor of medicine, health economist, and PhD in pharmacoeconomics, whose work bridges the world of clinical care, data-driven modeling, and system-level decision-making. I can go on forever for both of you, but I think I'm going to stop right here and let the audience read your bios. So both of them, but just to say both of them have several peer-reviewed articles published and both serve as president of several scientific societies. Again, one more time, I'm so excited to have you here on the platform, the HDC podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have several questions. I really don't know. I told you off air, I don't know where to start because there's so many things I want to tackle. So I'm going to start with something really simple. You both have really interesting journeys, both as nephrologists and also holding PhDs. Can we start with your professional journey and your background into this, what I think Professor Amr calls it a double scientific life. So one of you, please go ahead and get started. I have Dr. Haddiya on my screen, so how about you get started?
Yes.
Hi, thanks for the kind introduction and for having me in this very insightful podcast. So glad to be here. So my journey as a nephrologist into medical AI started from a very human place. As you said, some years ago, I conducted a PhD research on social responsibility in healthcare across Africa, in 10 African countries, distributed on the 5 African regions. And this work allowed me to study in depth how health systems function and approach equity, governance, and accountability through the lens, of course, of kidney disease management. And part of this research was to explore the perceptions of both doctors, namely nephrologists, and their patients regarding whether their hospitals were fulfilling their professional obligations well, which means delivering care that is not only of good quality and relevant, but also ethical and equitable. So, this multidimensional approach enabled me to gain a profound understanding of the structural, ethical, and logistical gaps that exist within many of our healthcare systems. And what I found was a real need for better tools, better approaches, not just to treat our patients, but to plan, to predict, to anticipate in order to protect, of course, our communities and our patients. So later, when I began reading about AI and my interest about this topic rose, I was truly struck by its potential. I saw it not only as not as a miracle cure, I would say, but as a potential ally, a powerful tool that could offer solutions to help address many of the systemic challenges and dysfunctions the study had previously identified. So that curiosity led me naturally to enroll in an online specialization course in AI for healthcare from Stanford University. And let me tell you, that was a great journey, a real transformative experience, learning experience that deepened both my understanding and my conviction that when guided and adopted responsibly, AI can offer solutions. It can play a critical role in making healthcare systems more transparent, more inclusive, and more efficient. As you know, its contribution is undeniable in areas like diagnostic assistance, medical imaging, for example, helping to detect very small lesions that the human eye cannot detect. And of course, it offers a lot of advantages in terms of risk prediction, analyzing massive volumes of data in record time, enabling the personalization of care and optimizing resources. So I'm truly convinced that bridging the digital gap is definitely a promise for regions of the world like ours.
Thank you, Dr. Haddiya. Really appreciate this background. We're going to move now to Professor Amr. If you can tell us a little bit about your professional journey into nephrology and pharmacoeconomics.
Thank you so much, Professor Parks. First, let me say it was a pleasure and an honor it's to be here. I truly appreciate your kind invitation and your trust. Your podcast is a rare space where deep thinking meets real-world evidence. And also, I want to thank you for all the collaborations we have already shared, from our research to your impactful contribution to the SMEPS 2024 workshop on AI in healthcare systems. Working with you is always intellectually rich and deeply respectful. And finally, I'm especially happy to share this moment with my colleague and friend, Professor Intissar. I deeply admire both professionally and personally. So thank you again for bringing us together for this conversation, and I'm truly looking forward to it. On the other hand, my journey in nephrology was never purely clinical, it was systemic. But let me start with a paradox. I choose nephrology because it deals with complexity, but the deeper I went, the more I see the real complexity is not just biological, it's systemic. Every dialysis session reflects more than a medical act. It reflects the structure of the health system, the logic of reimbursement, the geography of inequalities, the access, the patient access, the market access. And that's when I knew I need a second lens or second life, pharmacoeconomics. So today, I live a scientific double life, one half at the bedside in the intimacy of care, and the other half inside Excel, Markov models, health technology framework, and asking, is the intervention fair, sustainable, worth it? I'm a nephrologist who treats kidneys and health economist who question systems. And this dual perspective is not a luxury in my point of view. It's a necessity for the medicine of tomorrow. I think one of great thinkers of our time, Yuval Harari, said, AI has hacked the operating system of the human civilization. And in medicine, we are watching this in real time. The rules are changing, and this transformation, being clinically excellent, is no longer enough. We need doctors who can read algorithms, interpret data, navigate uncertainties, and still advocate for dignity. That's why I try to connect the patient to the system, the clinic to the commission, the dialysis machine to the decision tree. So I'm not choosing between the human and the system, or between nephrology and pharmacoeconomics. I'm working to make sure the system stays human. That's it.
There's no that's it about it. This is amazing. Between you and Professor Intissar, I'm just already in awe. And we have not even started our questions. A few years ago, when I heard the term nephrology, I was baffled. I didn't know what nephrology was. I knew what a doctor of dialysis is. So when I heard the scientific term nephrology, I had to look it up. Some of our audience may not know, especially on the IT, on the IS, on the AI side. So back to you, Dr. Maoujoud. What is nephrology? And based on our talk earlier, you said something about nephrology. This is offline. Nephrology being a natural frontier for AI. So first, what is nephrology, and why is nephrology a natural frontier for AI? I'm putting you on spot, so.
Nephrology is simple. It's the science of treating, diagnosing kidney disease. But it's unnatural specialties who has been always a data-rich specialties. We are treating kidneys, but the kidney play many roles in the human body. It's a homeostatic organ. A lot of our systems are monitored, controlled, or where the kidneys play the role of the playmaker. And as I said before, it's a data-rich specialty, so it is naturally in the frontier of AI. For example, dialysis session, where the kidneys are not working. We have the obligation to replace the work of the kidneys by a machine, by a dialysis machine. Every dialysis session generates a silent stream of numbers: blood pressure, dry weights, ultrafiltration, electrolyte shifts, vascular access metrics. And for years, we have been managing this kind of data, this complexity, but mostly by intuition. AI changed that. It doesn't invent new data. It activates the data we already had. It connects time points, spot patterns, and predicts risks long before clinical signs appear. Carefully, in our paper, we have work on the framework of carefully. One time he said, AI will do the analytical thinking in nephrology, in cardiology, but in all scientific fields. And human doctor, physician, will wrap that thinking in warmth and compassion and love. And nowhere is that clearer than in volume management. Dialysis patients, they have something called the volume management, the amount of water in the body, which is a natural role of kidneys. But when patients have end-stage renal disease, they cannot manage this amount of water in the body. We try to do it with dialysis. What we used until recently is by trial error. The nephrologist, the kidney doctor, the physician, guess a dry weight and waiting for symptoms. It's becoming now, with AI, with algorithm, a real-time predictive care. AI doesn't replace the role of nephrologist. It amplifies his precision. It turns silent data into early warning system. So nephrology is not just a data-heavy discipline. It's an AI-ready discipline. I hope that a little bit clear for the audience. If there is any...
No, thank you. This is clear. I still may have to decipher some of the biology terminology, something that Dr. Haddiya does not have to do because she's a nephrologist as well, and she's just moving and understanding every single thing about it because that's what she does as well. So thank you both for being here. Professor Haddiya, in
Yes.
addition to your medical doctor, being a medical doctor and having a PhD in social responsibility in healthcare, you also have done work in healthcare and AI Stanford. Why, or should I say, how is AI reshaping the nephrologist role? And Professor Amr already talked about the background of nephrology for all our audience and how AI is important, but we are taking it to the next level in this question: how is it reshaping your role, and why nephrology is well suited or not for AI application? He mentioned something about it's very data driven. If you can expand a little bit more from your point of view, why is nephrology suited or not suited for AI applications?
Yes, thank you for this very, very relevant question and for the way you did formulate it. It's very smart to use the word reshape the nephrologist role and not replace. And let me say my joy to share this podcast with my colleague, Professor Amr Maoujoud, and to listen to his inspiring insights and the vision of our specialty. He makes it very attractive through his explanation. So thank you. Getting back to your question, I would say that AI will redefine our role as nephrologists. It will reshape it and not replace us, at least not anytime soon. AI brings tremendous value to our field, as my colleague explained, because it can model transplant outcomes, personalize dialysis prescriptions, serve with many advantages as a predictive tool for both the acute kidney injury and the progression of chronic kidney disease. And these are all concrete, powerful contributions that enhance the clinical decision making for the nephrologist. However, when I say that nephrology will not be replaced by AI, I say it based on evidence. It's going to be reshaped because recent studies have shown that even the most advanced AI models, when intensively trained, failed to pass the nephrology board certification exam. They struggled particularly with some chapters like the glomerulonephritis, chronic kidney disease, and mineral bone disorders. And some models did struggle with electrolyte imbalances too. And when we look deeper into these chapters, in fact, there are areas that require nuanced clinical judgment, contextual reasoning, and above all of this, they require experience. These are domains of medicine in which guidelines are often based on weak or limited evidence. Most of the time, the guidelines are expert opinions, and where what truly matters is the wisdom of an experienced nephrologist, not just the pattern recognition AI excels at. So, yes, nephrology is a specialty that is well suited for AI applications because there's a lot of data, numbers, images. But unlike the other fields like radiology or pathology, it is not fundamentally threatened by AI. On the contrary, AI becomes a powerful assistant when used by the nephrologist. And also, there is something else AI cannot replicate, and it's very important in our specialty. It's our human connections with our patients, because nephrology is a deeply relational field. You know, we deal with patients who live with chronic conditions. They take multiple medications, and they need long-term care. So you can make the most accurate diagnosis. But if you don't build trust with your patients, if your patients don't feel seen, heard, felt, and supported, then adherence will falter. And that's where empathy, presence of the nephrologist, and confidence come in.
This is so powerful. I'm going to invite you both, in addition to this, to all my classes, because then I won't have to teach them. or should I say supplement or reshape or add. What you just said is really interesting. I teach a course in AI in healthcare for graduate students as well as medical doctors. And one of the elements is that AI passed the USMLE exam. You just said that it did not pass the nephrology board exam because of some chapters that are related to nuances that contextual experiences, human, and Dr. Amr also mentioned the compassion. This is really an interesting point. I'm going to pass it to Professor Amr to corroborate what you just said. How is that different from USMLE, or how AI did not learn from all this data that you mentioned? It's available already for it to make those decisions and pass the board exam. So I'm using Professor Haddiya's argument against you right now, and you have to rebuttal what she just said. This is
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you, Professor Rashida, for this question. I have already talked with my friend Intissar about this information that one AI failed to pass the USML exam in nephrology. But as I said to Professor Intissar a few weeks ago, I think they have used in this experience ChatGPT 3.5, the first version. And in my opinion, the second experience was done with the ChatGPT 4.0, and the result was very, very successful, I think. But I have to confirm this information. And also, it was not in the script for this podcast, but I have told to you about our last experience in Morocco for last year medical exam. And Professor Intissar is co-investigator in this study with me. And the result was astonishing. ChatGPT 4.5, the last version, versus last year medical students, there is no match. It was a score, I think, 100% for ChatGPT 4.5 versus the average score of last year medical students. But I think for this kind of for experience, it depends on the training of the model. And I think even if there is failing in some certification exam or certification boards, it's a matter of time. And I think for all the knowledge exam, I think it's a matter of weeks, months, or years to give the time for the training for AI systems, ChatGPT, Grok, or Gemini. But I would like also to add something to the ideas of my friend Intissar about how AI is reshaping the role of nephrologist and the nephrology field. And as you know, in our paper last year, published in Blood Purification with Professor Parks and other authors, Professor Ahid, Professor Saraji, and Dr. Laboudi, we have used the framework of K4Lee about automation of jobs. And we have applied this matrix to identify which tasks in the field of nephrology can be delegated or can be enhanced or stay human in our nephrology specialties. The core insight, AI doesn't replace the nephrologist. It frees them. It absorbs the routine, the repetitive, the mechanical task, so that nephrologist, the physician, can focus on complexity, on emotion, and ethics. It's a paradigm shift. So the question is, what can AI do better? It's what should only humans, not only doctors, be allowed to do. So to synthesize this idea, let AI monitor and let the doctors give love, gives emotion and warmth to the patients.
Thank you. As I told you before the podcast, we may have some talking points, but what you're sharing with me, it gives me more incentive to go deeper into what you know, and instead of just a script. And that's what I love about this podcast, is just natural and unfiltered. I'm going to go right back before moving to the next question. You're giving me so much info to start digging a little bit deeper. This is just like data mining. I'm just going a little bit further. Both of you mentioned that AI is needed. It does do really well when it comes to training the data and give you the right results. Earlier this year, Professor Haddiya, she posted on social media something about a hospital in China and about an example of AI-powered hospital. Professor Haddiya, if I may ask you a little bit more to comment on an AI-powered hospital. Doesn't have you as a medical doctor, it doesn't have Professor Maoujoud as a medical doctor, but he has AI-powered machine that are treating patients like you and I and everybody else. If you can comment on that.
Yes, of course. That was something really impressive. Some 3 or 4 weeks ago, we woke up with this, with a Chinese hospital that runs with 14 AI models instead of human doctors. And so it's fascinating. Yes, it's a prowess, of course, but then it's technological. But it raises so many questions ethically. What does it mean to have a hospital with no humans, or not run by humans at all? There's the question of accountability. Who is accountable in the case of errors, or when a problem occurs? And is it possible to treat patients without I don't know how to express that. I mean, can we imagine what happens, I would like to say, to the relationship between the doctor and the patient, the human doctor with the patient? Will patients be satisfied by this kind of treatments? It raises so many questions, and this experience has shown what is technologically possible. But you and I know that what is technologically possible is not always ethically desirable. So we should be cautious. And I guess that it's not an experiment that that should be replicated elsewhere without a deep thought about the observation and thoughts about the consequences of this kind of hospitals.
Thank you very much, Dr. Haddiya. And since we're talking about ethics and accountability, I'm going to move to Professor Amr. What ethical considerations should you as medical doctors, or should we as data scientists prioritize? And if we can put it in the framework of the continent of Africa, because Morocco is a African country. So if you can give us that in general, and then narrow it down to Morocco and the continent of Africa, talking about ethical considerations, please.
Thank you for this question, Dr. Parks. I think we cannot split our interest in AI without ethical and philosophical reflection. Last year, I think in one of the TED Talk, Nick Bostrom says something very impactful about AI, which is not a technological problem. For him, it was a control problem. It is not what the machine does. It's who decides what it learns. It's about the training data. of the algorithm where we have to be very, very careful. In Morocco, in Africa, the top priorities are data sovereignty, fairness, explainability. If we import black box algorithms trained on other population, on other data set, we risk scaling bias, not solving it. So ethical AI means local data, transparent logic, inclusive governance. Because in medicine and other fields, trust is everything. And you cannot trust what you cannot question. So the real risk on AI is not malveillance, but competence without alignment. In Africa, ethical AI means built for us, by us, with our data, I think.
I think I stopped for the thing that caught my attention. We cannot trust what we can't question. As scientists, medical doctors, PhDs, that's really how we live by, right? If we cannot question, if you cannot pose the question why, what is that, what's happening and why it's happening, we really can't trust it. So that's really a strong statement there. I can't ask a lot more questions about ethics and biases, but I'm going to move to Professor Haddiya and ask her, still in the same realm of this, how can AI, how we can leverage AI to reduce health disparities, especially we're dealing across the globe, not in the US, not necessarily in Africa. We have in every country, we have large social disparities or access that is different between one region and the other. How do you think can AI be leveraged to reduce those disparities?
Yes, in order to reduce disparities and not to widen them, I think that we must address three interlinked dysfunctions, major dysfunctions, or systemic challenges, especially when we talk about regions with disparities like Africa, for example, and other regions of the world. First, there is the education capacity building, then the legal and ethical frameworks, and third, the scientific and public health culture. Starting with education and capacity building, these regions must invest in cultivating a generation of health professionals, engineers, policymakers, and researchers who are not just users of AI, but critical thinkers about its design and deployment. We need users and leaders who can interrogate AI systems, understand their limitations, and demand transparency and equity. And this means for physicians, for example, and for all these stakeholders to reimagine curricula in order to include digital health, ethics, and data governance. When it comes to the legal and ethical frameworks, some of the key points were said by my colleague and friend, Professor Maoujoud. Regulation must be grounded in ethical principles that reflect our contexts with the principles of solidarity, justice, human dignity, and of course, the informed consent. Because strong governance is essential to protect patient data and to ensure the accountability, and of course, to avoid exacerbating the existing inequalities. The third point, which is very, very important, is the scientific and public health culture. We must root innovation in the lived realities of African communities, as my friend said. AI in Africa or in regions of the world that presents disparities must not be a foreign implant, but a solution shaped by local scientists in dialogue with the needs, the languages, and cultures of their people, which means funding local research, supporting data sovereignty, and resisting the temptation to adopt the one-size-fits-all models that come from abroad, because context matters, cultures matters, and of course in health, ignoring these dimensions can cost lives. So to make a long story short, While the challenges are real, but they are not insurmountable, they do require a shift in the mindset from passive consumption of global technologies to the active construction of sovereign and inclusive and ethical AI ecosystems. I guess this is the way to reduce and not widen the health disparities when using AI.
That is absolutely very interesting. You added so many components to this question. And of course, whenever you do that, you just generate more questions in this AI system, right? This intelligence system, right here. You talked about contacts, and any AI systems or any AI engineer knows that the context is extremely important. I can have all the data in the world that I have and apply it to a region, whether here in the US or Morocco, the outcome, when I train that data, the outcome based on the data that I have, it will have different outcome based on the region. If I'm dealing with people up north or just people in the south, well, whether they're dealing with different climate or different health issues. And I think Professor Amr and I talked about that when I was doing my Fulbright in Morocco. And a big shout out to Fulbright. It was an absolutely fantastic program, both personally and professionally. Of course, sorry, I had to pause because that's the reason we're having this chat right now today, because we met during my Fulbright experience. Back to the context is really important when we are training any model. And you mentioned so many items, and I think I got hung up on your optimism, how important it is. Yes, we have challenges, human challenges, we have data challenges, we have system challenges, and we have context. But you said, yes, we can make it. We can handle these challenges. They're not, they are challenges because we can overcome them. You also mentioned education and curricula, and that lead to our education and training. As you probably both know, I am not a medical doctor. However, I have a joint appointment both at the business school and the computer information systems department and business analytics, but also the medical school. And we try to always embetter our training on both sides to include data-driven analysis. So when you're a medical doctor, yes, you have a lot of courses to understand the body, to understand diagnosis, how to take care of patients. But in today's society, medical doctors, they have to understand data, what it means when treating patients and trends. Still with you, Professor Haddiya, how
Yes.
should we train the next generation of physicians, meaning medical doctors?
Very good question. Very, very good. Training the next generation of physicians means going beyond what we ask them now, which is the clinical excellence. Of course, it's important to be excellent for a doctor, for a physician. And of course, they must master what we call the hard skills, the medical knowledge and the diagnostic skills. But today's context demands much more. We must train doctors to be critical thinkers, ethically grounded, and digitally fluent. This is very, very important. Physicians need to understand and work with new technologies like AI, not as passive users. This means integrating courses on digital health, data literacy, and ethics into the medical curricula. This is very, very important. Then we must emphasize the human skills, the empathy, the communication, the cultural sensitivity, and the teamwork, because that's what makes the difference between us and the machines. These are what truly sustain the trust in the doctor-patient relationship, especially as technology takes on a greater role. And of course, education should be interdisciplinary and adaptive. Tomorrow's doctors must be comfortable collaborating with engineers, data scientists, and policymakers. They should also be trained to respond to emerging global challenges. For example, pandemics, climate change, health inequities, and so on. And we must create a culture of lifelong learning. This is a key message. Medicine is evolving rapidly, and the next generation of physicians must be equipped not just with knowledge, but with the mindset to keep learning, questioning, and innovating, while staying, of course, anchored in the values of care and responsibility. So these are my key message for the training of the next generation of physicians.
Thank you, Professor Haddiya. I'm going to move on to Professor Amr. From our previous conversation, you mentioned the future doctor is not a technician of knowledge, meaning just treating patient, but an interpreter of systems. Can you please elaborate? And you're always philosophical in your statements, and I love that. Can you elaborate on rethinking the physician role in the era of AI?
Thank you, my dear friend, for this introduction. My sentence was not provocative. It's a reality. I think today's medical students are trained to know, and I think it's an outdated approach. Tomorrow, they must be trained to question. In the age of ChatGPT, Gemini, and so forth, what we need are clinicians who can interpret, arbitrate, and decide, decision makers. Sam Altman said, we should hope for the world where intelligence is too cheap. Bill Gates says the same thing. Good medical advice will be cheap, free, available everywhere. In this point of view, medical doctors must be trained to this world where knowledge will be free, but judgment, empathy, and contextualization will be scarce. So in this future, it's a near future, medicine will not be replaced by AI, it will be reshaped by it. So Dr. Intissar said before, the future of medicine is not about who hold the most knowledge. I think it is the point of this vision, but who can best interpret complexity, who can best interpret algorithms. AI has already hacked our operating system as a human civilization. In medicine, that means AI now is writing part of the script. It filters the noise and anticipates deterioration and flags anomalies before a human would. But what remains is the deeply human part, trust, ethics, judgment. In nephrology and other fields where clinical decisions often rely on imperfect data and evolving patient conditions, AI becomes not a replacement, but a thinking partner. And I think this is the way that we have to follow to adjust our training model of the future generation of medical students and future generations of doctors. We must add algorithmics in the curriculum, data science, digital ethics, core medical curriculum. Now it's for a world of yesterday, not for the world of today and tomorrow. Otherwise, we are preparing doctors for a world that no longer exists. So I think we don't have to train doctors to know, to compete with AI, with ChatGPT, but we have to train them to question the algorithmic decisions. And I think also the best doctors of tomorrow will be the most human and the most system literate. At least it's my vision of the future of our discipline.
This is so interesting. Whenever I think I know a lot, I meet wonderful guest speaker like you, and I realize there is so much more to learn, right? Every day there is room for extra knowledge. You mentioned, both of you, that there's a need for a major shift in how we're training both doctors and scientists to understand both parts and be interdisciplinary. I'm going to focus on the clinician side because that's where you got initially your medical training. What and you're both professors in the School of Medicine. This is not something we discussed before or even sent you a hint about it, but because of everything you're saying right now, that's why I'm asking that question. Um, Throughout the world or all over the world, this question, how can we adjust our curriculum for AI literacy? My own institution, where we're adding several programs, several certifications to be able to create that AI literacy across business school, law school, medical school. What are the initiatives that you know of, or that you're involved in, or that you're thinking of, that medical students should have, whether it's courses, whether it's something during their residency, that you want it to be implemented today to get to the doctors, both Professor Haddiya and Professor Amr, you're talking about tomorrow, that can still be relevant to supporting patient in their diagnosis and treatment? It's a loaded question, but you want to give it a try?
I think if Professor Intissar want to say something?
I got disconnected. I'm just back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can repeat the question if needed.
Yes, please.
Sure. You both talked about the curricula and the importance of AI literacy for students, or for medical students or scientists, to be interdisciplinary. What are some of the skills, courses, changes in curricula that you are part of, or that you need should be done in order to make our clinician, I'm going to focus on the clinician side, clinician relevant tomorrow, or I should say today, while leveraging AI in their diagnosis or treatment, and still being compassionate and taking care of patients?
Yes, to answer this question, let me tell you, Professor Parks, that we cannot succeed in something like that, in changing the curricula, unless it's within a reform, with a political will. You asked what's the model we know about the most. I can speak about the Moroccan model in healthcare. You know that Morocco is an emerging is emerging as an AI player. I mean, as a major player now in the African scene in terms of AI in healthcare, because there is a political will behind. There is a reform that aims to improve the healthcare, and then there are so many steps that were taken, and over the past few years we've seen an average growth, according to the numbers, of something like 15% of the adoption of AI technologies annually. This reform I spoke about is in several hospitals that use AI systems primarily for managing the medical appointments, and some facilities, especially private facilities, do use the supporting diagnosis and the aids to diagnosis tools. There are many applications that are as a consequence to this reform that was launched by the Moroccan government. So it's not something that's going to be thought individually or at the level of a university, of a school of medicine, but it's within a national reform.
Thank you very much for sharing the digital transformation that's happening in Morocco. I had the privilege and honor of exploring some of the innovations that are happening during my Fulbright. I didn't know the extent of what was happening My research was about AI in healthcare in Morocco. That's when I had the privilege of meeting in person Professor Amr and so many leaders in healthcare as well in digital innovation throughout the country. I traveled all over, met wonderful people, and I get to meet you, Professor Haddiya, but after I came back. So that was really a privilege. Yeah, you talked about this reform, that is nationwide reform, and I think that's a huge privilege for the country and a huge push that I was able to see it from the higher up to the everyday youngster that are involved in looking into how to improve their AI literacy through formal channels in university, but also other programs that I saw. My next comment is for Professor Amr. With all this digital transformation, when we ask the why, as scientists, we look at it, okay, there is a why, there is a gap, there is an opportunity that we go and research. And then, of course, we collect the data and we test it or we explore it. As a pharmacoeconomist, I can't pronounce that word, so you know what I'm talking about. Morocco is developing HTA tools to evaluate both therapies and AI-driven solutions. And we all know that we cannot develop something without having tools to evaluate it, without having tools to assess if it's working, not working, is it improving, moving in the right direction. Can you tell us a little bit more about what are the tools that you're, or the AI tools or that you're using? No, I should say the tools they're using to identify the real value of AI and the use of AI in Morocco or in general within nephrology.
So very important and very hot topic about how we can assess the real value of AI tools in Morocco and worldwide. When we talk about evaluating AI in medicine, we shouldn't approach it like we are testing a gadget. We need to treat AI tools as what they truly are. They are health technology products. That means subject to structured evaluation through health technology assessment, HTA. Health technology assessment is a scientific process used worldwide, from NICE in the UK to FDA in the United States, Haute Autorité de la Santé en Europe, to determine the clinical, the economic, the organizational, and ethical value of a health technology. Health technology can be a drug, a medical device, or an algorithm, or a dialysis machine, or an AI-powered decision support tool. So the question remains the same. Does this intervention provide value for our health system and for our patients? So with AI, the challenge is even more complex. These systems are often black box, interpretability issues. They evolve. They are trained on dataset that may not reflect local populations, and they are in a clinical workflow where the interpretability and trust are critical. So in Morocco and other countries, we are developing a health technology assessment framework that go beyond efficacy. And we ask, is this AI tools sustainable, transparent, adaptable? Does it fit with our infrastructure, our regulatory environment, or our values? For example, an algorithm predicting sepsis in ICU may show great results in Boston. But if we need a level of ICU monitoring we don't have, or relies on electronic health records data we don't collect, its value becomes theoretical. That's why always local validation and contextual relevance matter. I often quote Bill Gates, who said, "Not everything that is valuable is measurable." in digital health, that is especially true. We need to combine quantitative evaluation with judgment, ethics, but with local realism. So health technology assessments help us to move from hype to health impact. We don't just need AI that works in theory. We need AI that works in our environment, in Morocco or other countries.
Moving from a hype to health impact. I think that's going to be the title, right? That sounds really wonderful. And it is looking beyond the shiny object to truly what matters, to making an impact through frameworks, through education, through legal obligations. I started using the term, I think from the previous episode, the 360-degree view of AI in healthcare. And I had the honor of doing a recording with the renowned professor, Dr. Rashid Yazami, who talked about the other side of the energy that is supporting all these algorithms. If we didn't have his invention, probably we won't be having our cell phones right now with us. We won't be talking about our computers and a lot of medical devices that you use in nephrology and other areas of medicine. If you are looking at that 360-degree view of AI in nephrology, what are the different components that you can state right here on the air that you can think of on the fly? We'll start with energy. We need that energy in those data center. And between both of you, how about we do like 30-second? What are those different perspectives to make it a 360-degree view of AI in nephrology? I'm thinking, I'm reacting like a professor here in a classroom. I'm like, okay, give me all the components that you have. We have to make it fun. That's what I do everywhere I go. I'm like, if we stop having fun, I'm like, I'm going to move on to the next one. So I'm going to engage you in this fun activity. So you talked about education. You talked about assessment. What would be something that I forgot? One word.
Innovation, maybe?
Yes.
Practical tools, some practical tools.
Okay.
I'm thinking about some models that can be helpful either in nephrology, in clinical nephrology, or in medical education, for example.
Wonderful. Professor Amr, I'm going to move to you. This is like a 30-second.
Do you want me to expand? Sorry? Would you like me to expand on a tool that is useful for medical education, for example?
I would love that. And this is shifting it. Yes, that was my one of my questions. And please, yeah, some of the tools that you actually use in real practical tools, whether in medicine in general or in nephrology.
Well, there are so many, of course, there are many tools, but I'd be really glad to speak about a tool that is very useful for nephrology education, medical education, and it's focusing on nephrology, but it can be generalized to other specialties. I'm very glad to speak about that because I had the privilege to collaborate in building it. Because after completing my specialization in AI in healthcare, I had the great opportunity to collaborate with brilliant experts at Loop AI Italy. Especially, I'm thinking here of my colleague Andrea Petrone and the whole team, who involved me in the developing an innovative tool design to support medical students in preparing for their exams, especially in nephrology. So it's an AI-powered cognitive agent that does three main things. First, it generates open-ended clinical questions related to nephrology based on the updated guidelines, using, of course, generative AI. And then it analyzes the students' recorded answers, not just the words, but also their expressions, their tone. And third, it gives feedback on how complete and accurate their answers are. and whether the student seems confident or unsure of his or her answer. So the tool combines language analysis, facial emotion detection, and voice signals, all to help the students evaluate themselves, gain confidence, and improve their preparation for the exam. So, what's really exciting about the model, the AI model, is that when compared to human examiners, the results were very, very close with a very low margin of error. The students who tested it appreciated the tool, and we see a great potential to expand in it, of course, and also to other specialties. Let me just clarify that our tool is not meant to replace the teachers, but just to empower both the students, the learners, and of course the teachers. It's a new way, I think, to make maybe nephrology more interactive, more attractive, simpler, and more accessible.
We have these cognitive agent or these agents used in the classroom are really important. One of my colleagues, and shout out to Dr. Guido Lang in my department, he used one of those in one of the courses. He did not do, it didn't assign any books, but all recordings and material, and then used this agent within the classroom. And it was a fantastic experience. He was able also with some co-authors to publish this paper.
We did
Moving to the,
publications. We
oh,
did
you
several,
did?
yes, we have several publications about this agent, and it's presented in many IEE congresses. Very, very
Okay.
well appreciated.
Okay, I'm going to search them up, and if you don't mind sending me the link, I'll post it as well for those interested. You're both are clinicians. Dr. Amr, can you share some practical AI examples in nephrology that you're using when taking care of patients?
I was waiting for this question. Uh, I will talk about one AI tool that I'm using for 2-3 years now in the dialysis room. It's an AI algorithms to predict intradialytic hypotension, one of the most common and dangerous complication during dialysis session. And this is one of the most important driver of our paper. With this kind of algorithm, will we still need a nephrologist in the future? Because we just want to have a shiny title. But these systems analyzed, they are embedded in the dialysis machine. They are trained on thousands of dialysis sessions. And there is an algorithm developed with the constructor, but we can adapt on some patients. So there is the master algorithms, and there is the training with the local patients. These systems analyze trends in real time and flag risk before symptoms appear in the dialysis room. It's not science fiction. It is now, and it is a perfect illustration of what Sam Altman said a few weeks ago, a world where intelligence become ambient and invisible and anticipatory. And this changed our mindset. We move in the dialysis room from reacting to symptom to anticipating, from treating complications, avoiding them. And we have a lot of data. Some data are published, some data are under publications with this kind of approach, an algorithmic approach to manage one of the most complications during dialysis session. And let me share one of my deepest thoughts about this approach. I think the next great medical breakthrough will not came from discovering drugs or molecules, but from new models, new algorithmics, decision-making tools. in this world, AI has the potential to revolutionize almost every medical fields. In nephrology, this revolution will not be new drugs. And Professor Intissar knows this topic very well. We don't have many discoveries of drugs in the field of nephrology. But I think we have the chance to be here for the discovery, maybe for the new algorithms, new medical decision tools to fill this gap of the lack of new breakthrough drugs in our nephrology. So AI shifts nephrology from crisis response to a predictive precision. This is my thought about how I use it for now and how maybe in the future AI algorithms will be the most breakthrough rather than drugs or molecules.
Yeah, it is really important when we know what works for our fields and where we need to go, and also the shortcomings and pretty much everything that if we don't know that, we can't move forward. Instead of that, we will be just leveraging a tool that we may not need. You talked about these examples, and I know both of you are very proponent of digital innovation and how you can better your fields. Are there around you, around the world, any resistance from other medical doctors when it comes to leveraging, using AI? Is there any concerns that it may replace them or take over some of their responsibilities? Is there any of those thoughts or of those concerns happening around you, whether in Morocco or outside in your field in general?
Around me, with the colleagues, there is more curiosity. There is curiosity about this topic, not a real resistance. But whenever we get interested and we dig deeper in AI in healthcare, we see that resistance is everywhere. And because people are frightened, they resist what they don't truly master, what they don't deeply understand. People are afraid to lose their jobs. They're afraid to be replaced. People are also concerned about data privacy, data protection. These are all components of the resistance that is not always declared, but that can hinder the implementation of AI in the sector of healthcare in some places, I guess.
I know I abused your time. We are way over time, but I'm going to move to something just enrich the audience outside nephrology, outside AI. Are there any other interests that you would like to share with the audience, whether it's hobbies, special awards, a trip to the moon, special publications? What brings joy to you outside nephrology and outside AI? It might be hard, but let's give it a try.
For me, at least, I learn from everything, from jazz to pizza, from travel to cooking, from movies to intense practice of sport, from Tolkien to Harari. Curiosity is my fuel, not just in science, but in life. I think the word is curiosity.
That's wonderful. Professor Haddiya?
Well, outside of nephrology, I happen to be a writer. I write social novels, and I've published 5 or 6 books, maybe, social novels that are rooted in the Moroccan reality. I portray Moroccan women as central characters. This is, what is particular about my novels is that the main characters are females, are Moroccan females. And the work explores the female condition, the resilience, the nuances of contemporary life in Morocco. To me, literary writing allows me to give voice to stories that are often left untold in the medical or academic spheres. This is, I guess, what passions me the most outside of science and academia.
Definitely interesting from curiosity to being a novelist. Now I'm gonna go and run, eat pizza, listen to jazz, but also to the audience, pick up one of Dr. Haddiya's book and read it just out of curiosity. So I'm combining both. As we're wrapping up, back to nephrology, AI, and curiosity, and everything else, any final thoughts for the audience? It could be data scientists, it could be medical doctors, it could be residents, policymakers, ministers. What are final thoughts you want us to walk away with? I'll start with Professor Haddiya, and then we'll end with Professor Amr, if that's okay.
Okay.
So I'd say that AI is a crucial component of tomorrow's healthcare, and doctors who use AI responsibly will for sure replace those who don't. And I'm truly convinced that bridging the digital gap is not only a challenge, but a promise, especially for regions of the world like ours, because it is feasible, it is possible with the right strategies, the investment, the local training, the fair policy. We can create inclusive, context-aware innovation that serve our people better than imported models. That's my final thought.
Thank you very much, Professor Amr.
I think AI is not the end of medicine, it's not the end of data science, but it's the end of the medicine as we knew it, I think. But I can be wrong. The game of knowledge, it's almost over. But we can evolve. We have to evolve to be with AI in the upcoming years. My final thoughts, we have tools, we have new silicon intelligence with us in the planet of Earth. So let the algorithms, let the machines calculate, and let the humans connect. This is my vision for the future.
Thank you, both of you, so much for joining us at the HDC chat series today. You definitely provided me and the audience with a rich, insightful discussion that is absolutely leaving us richer in our own human intelligence. Again, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. It was such a pleasure indeed.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the presenter and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the organization or entity represented by the presenter.